Hey everyone, welcome to Pop XP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the Pop XP channel. Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe here now, Scala Pop XP. Joining me tonight, as always, on Crowdfunding Comics is the most amazing Frank Amazing in the house. And Frank Amazing, how are you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you doing tonight, the brain?
I am doing well. I am doing well. It's another lovely night.
Yes.
Lovely night, Frank.
Lovely. Lovely.
It's got me feeling all furry, if you know what I mean.
Yep. I know exactly. Some paws.
Yeah, some furry moments. It's a furry night, a furry guest. You know, everyone's just getting a little furry. But man, I got to tell you, dude, it's awesome. It's been a great week. You know, we had a great show Tuesday night. We got another great show tonight with a great creator, and his book's pretty awesome. And not only that, I mean, he actually has, he's published so many books through his company, and I really like where this is going. You know me. You know, I like my paranormal. I like my stories. My ancient aliens. I like those things. I like the mystery of knowing where have we come from. You know, do I have alien DNA in my system? You know, I don't know.
Yep.
You know, I repel people with my beautiful personality.
Yeah, it could happen. You probably like 1 in 100 million% alien DNA.
You're so smart. You are so smart. You're so good with math.
All about.
Look how quick you are with that math. Well, without further ado, everyone, let's welcome a man who I think his heart is softer than his last name, Mr. Luke Stone.
Thank you for the warm welcome. How you guys doing tonight?
You know, we keep it warm and fuzzy, bro.
Yeah, like furries.
Yeah, like furries. Pre-talk, getting fuzzy.
Yeah.
So Luke, man, it's so awesome to have you on the show. You know, you're quite an accomplished indie creator. You've got quite a bit out there with a good following. And you know, we've heard of you, we've heard of your books. So we're finally glad to have you on and have you on while you have a live campaign currently going on INDIEGOGO. But you know, let's get into it, man. I'd love to get to know you. I mean, this is the first time we've had a chance to talk. You know, let's start off with your origin story. How did you even get into comics?
Oh man, that's a good question. I've loved comics probably since I was 5 years old, and that's kind of how I got into comics. Really was, my mom and dad used to go out to this little diner called the Breakfast House, which is funny. It was open all night long, but they would go out and hang out with their friends to like 2-3 o'clock in the morning with their 3-year-old, which is probably not the wisest thing to do, but that's what they did, right? And so to entertain me, they would throw me napkins and pens and just let me draw. And so I started kind of drawing at a very young age. And I really got into He-Man for a while, like when that was out in '85, and I was like a big He-Man fan. And so my dad was telling one of his coworkers that, my son likes to draw. He's really into He-Man. And he's like, hey, I got these comics. Why don't you send these home to him and see what he thinks? And so, man, I love those things as soon as I saw them. And one of the first books I ever saw was the Mike Zeck run of Secret Wars issue 4, that cover with Hulk kind of like holding up all that earth and stuff, man. It just got me. And so, yeah, that's really kind of what got me into comics. But then, I kind of grew up in a place where not a lot of people read comics, but I wanted to be creative and be able to have an outlet. And not a lot of people talked about them. So I would still work on comics, but then I started playing guitar and stuff like that. And so I actually wound up doing with kind of a small-time music career. Then I moved to Florida. And there was no musician. There were musicians, but only if you played like metal or hip hop. And I didn't. So I started getting back into comics in 2014. And right after I found the news, friends with a guy named Gary Dale and his brother Jeremy, who was just around my age, was working for a company called IDW. He was doing the G.I. Joe books, and he was working on his own thing called Skyward. And so I kind of lived vicariously through the fact that one of us made it into comics, always wanted to work in comics, but he was doing it. Well, he got sick and passed away in November of 2014. And that shook me. Yeah, that really sucked. Sucked a whole lot more for Gary because he'd known him for a long time. Obviously, he's his brother. But then it was really kind of an eye opener. It shook me a little bit, and so I was like, I need to start doing something. I need to make this happen. And so I decided I wanted to draw comic books and publish comic books. So, well, I didn't want to publish. I wanted to have them published. Yeah. But I wasn't very good, so no one would publish them. So I just published them on my own because I'm stubborn. So
yeah. So tell us a bit about your publishing company. How long have you been around? How many books do you currently have out?
Well, I started one a while back called Tenacious Comics, and then that one kind of closed down. I worked for another company called Starcross, and now just recently we opened up this company called Terraform Comics. And so it's a partnership. There's 5 of us, and we all bring something special and unique to the table. And so we are right now we're working on bringing several new IPs kind of to life. And so we've got 4 or 5 different ideas that we are like stories that are being developed at the moment. But over the years, I've been a part of publishing quite a few. So I've got 5 issues of the Hybrids book. I was working on a story called Worst Day Ever that was out there for a while. I've got my name attached to a few other things that I don't really like to talk about because it sucked.
Oh, jeez.
But most recently, I worked on a book with a guy named Travis Gibb, who I think I see him in the chats there.
Yes,
and, and so Travis and I partnered on a book called Voodoo Nations that just just finished up its campaign on Kickstarter, and is actually like this Saturday we're going to do our first kind of like big signing and stuff. So that's going to be kind of cool. So we've got several titles there, and I've worked on a whole bunch of other ones too. So.
Oh, interesting. And you've got your website at terraformcomics.com. Now you were talking about your team here, and here's Luke. I know Rob. Now, who are the other creators that are part of your team here?
Yeah, so Eric Hodson, he's our art director. He's he does a book called The Dreaded Dinosaur Man. Well, it's not a book. It's going to be going into book form. But he does a webcomic called Dreaded Dinosaur Man. Plus, he does a lot of the Rowdy Piper book and some other wrestling IPs he does. And so he's a very talented artist and a creative person. And so he is our art director. Varian Grant, who is the owner of Indie Volt Media and Liberty Distribution and a whole bunch of other kind of companies. But his Indie Volt radio and stuff really is huge. And so he's really in charge of our distribution chain and stuff. So he works on all of that kind of stuff for us. And then Meredith Logren, who works with Geek Insider, is also, she is basically does all of our communications and all that kind of stuff and keeps us on track. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And how long would you say you guys have been around as Terraform?
As Terraform, we have probably been around, 2.5 months now. So yeah, we're pretty new up until just prior to the pandemic. I was working with another company called Starcross, and so we're just kind of getting our footing now. So my book Hybrids came in, Rob's book Cat Dad Supermom came in, and then we have we're launching Guano Guy 3, and so you can actually get Guano Guy number 1 free right now. As a digital download. But yeah, so Mark Darden is on with us. And then Austin Janowski is releasing a book with us here in a few months as well. So, and then we have, like I said, we've got like 3 or 4 different original kind of company owned IPs that we're going to be putting out. So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, we wish you the best of luck with that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. All it's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun. So yeah, just trying to do things a little bit different.
Are you guys taking in like submissions or anything from other creators to have them go through Terraform? Or are you keeping it more close knit?
We do. We take submissions from time to time. Like we had open submissions, but it was like kind of a flood of just. It was so hard to keep up with kind of like the first steps of starting this company, getting the everything lined up, set up, all the legalities taken care of. But no, we're at the point now to where we kind of, if someone is interested, they can come talk to us. but we try to snipe people. Like we go out there, and if we find a book that we like that isn't affiliated with a company yet, then we kind of look at those and then start those conversations. And so there's been a few of those that we've started kind of talking about. We have a whole intake process. It's fun.
Now, are you running it like a more of a traditional publishing house, or are you guys running it kind of the image model? I mean, what's the model of your publishing company?
Well, yeah, it's all creator owned stuff. So it's kind of, we try to take the best of both worlds when it comes to, publishing a comic book. We want to do some of the good stuff Image did. We want to do some of the good stuff some of these other companies do. And, but we want to kind of make it our own. One of the things that we've noticed a lot of times is that, a lot of these creators could probably break through on their own. And I like to use the analogy. Do you guys watch Doctor Who at all?
Yeah, I've watched it.
Okay. So there was this one episode of Doctor Who where he kept going to this, kind of got in a time loop. And every time he would go through the process, he would get to this kind of wall. And his method was to punch the wall. Right. And so then he would go through again and punch the wall, and it would chip away a little bit at that wall over time. And so however many times he wound up doing this, he finally broke through the wall. And so I think, that a lot of times that's how indie creators work. We just punch the wall by ourselves. But, what if we had multiple people trying to break through that wall together? And so that's what we try to do. So we find people that are at a certain level in their career that are ready to kind of make those next steps and that want to try to make those next steps together. But they also have to have something to offer, so it's not just hey, get my book in stores or something like that. It's not just that, there's a whole lot more involved with it. It's, you've got to help move the bar as well, so everyone's kind of working together, pulling together, kind of, doing their own, kind of doing their own thing, but doing it together, if that makes sense. And so that's what we try to do with, as far as our promotions and things like that goes. We don't want to do everything, like the Diamond way or whatever. So we're trying to find multiple different outlets to be able to promote and to distribute our books and things like that. So just really trying to be creative.
So you're self-distributing these books. You're not taking their books and then basically porting them through Diamond or any other distributor.
Well, we're working with it's so new. We're working to solicit to get hooked up with Diamond, but we've got other companies that we're working with. So we're using our own website. We do have relationship with the retailers, and especially through Liberty Entertainment Distribution Group, or LEDG US, I think it is. The distribution company that Varian Grant owns. And so that has been he's been laying the groundwork for that for 4 years. So he's got a lot of retailers that he's working with. And so we are able to get into more than a handful of stores with that process. And that number is growing every day because he's doing a whole lot of groundwork to be able to get that done. So
that's cool. So, that's neat. It's almost like you're developing kind of the one-stop shop. Saying that, I mean, I know obviously, like Rob, yourself, you do the Kickstarter, Indiegogo things, you're doing the campaigns. I can't test for the other partners you have there. I'm not 100% familiar with their work and things, but I mean, are you going to fulfill? Are you guys also fulfilling, or is everyone on their own for fulfilling their campaigns?
No, we're doing the fulfillment for everybody too. So collectively, between all of us that have done any of the crowdfundings, we have more than 25 crowdfunding campaigns that have been funded and fulfilled. So we've got a lot of experience with it, and so we're actually helping these creators to to get their initial print runs done and things like that. And we want to make sure that they're keeping all the money that they can. So we only take 20% of whatever the profit is, so it's which is not much, because we all made books. We all know the profit off of a book is not very much. But, if we work together, if we're all using our audience, kind of building that up and trying to move the ball forward, we can make more money for each other. And so that's part of our process. So we help them do that.
Now that you have, your own business, do you have a relationship with a printer that you prefer to use? If someone has their own book and say, "Oh, I want to use this printer," is that, okay, or what?
Well, we're open to those kind of conversations, but we know where our profit margins are going to be. We know how to make comic books and make money off of it. Some of us, that's what we do for a living. Like that's all we do. Now I do have a full-time day job that I'll never leave. It's more of a calling than a job. So, but we all know how to make money making comic books, so you might really like your printer, but they might not be the right price or the right quality for what we're looking for, so we're up to having those conversations, but there's certain criteria that it has to meet, and we have to see samples from all those places because we want to make sure that across the board, all of the Terraform books are of equal quality, the highest that we can maintain, so it's all subjective, but we have a pretty set, like what's subjective to us is like, this is how it has to look and how it has to be. And so
standard.
Yeah. We have our standard for it. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I was just, curious. I hope some of the people watching, that are thinking comic, but also company, because that's kind of the flow of how you would want to go, and you're talking company. And I think it's what you're giving is some insight, to those people that once you get, comics together, you got to go to the next level, which is create your own company, and bring in talent
or join a company. There's really three things all publishers need to have. The first is an audience. And so, we're working really hard to build an audience. If you look at all of the, I call it the trifecta of indie press is what I call it. You've got Indie Volt Radio, which has 70,000 plus listeners and viewers all over the world. You've got Rob's Comic Book Advocates Network, which you guys have heard of that. That he's got a pretty decent reach there. And then you've got the Geek Insider that Meredith works with. And so there's this partnership between these three that has this huge reach. And so we're building audience. Mailing list is growing every day. We've been able to reach through the crowdfunding that we've done through Kickstarter and now INDIEGOGO. I'm trying INDIEGOGO and trying to give it my best go on INDIEGOGO. And but our Kickstarters, we've had a lot of backers between all of us. We have a few hundred people that we can reach out to about, hey, this is what we're working on right now. And so all that stuff is working out really good. So we've got audience and continuing to grow audience. The next thing you need is capital. And so we're working on capital. And really this campaign right now that I'm running, part of that, because I'm one of the first people to have a contract with Terraform, most of my profits are going into the company. I get a little bit, but we're going to push a lot of my profits into the making new books and building that. So we have capital for everybody else. And so we're working on growing that capital. And then the last thing is distribution. And so we do have some distribution, not where we want to be yet, but heck, we're just a couple months old. By this time next year, we'll have a much larger reach as far as distribution goes. But those are the three things. So anybody that wants to say, hey, I want to take my comic and I want to either make a company or find a company, don't just find one of those internet companies that we run your Kickstarter for you. Well, anybody can run a Kickstarter and take your money. Anybody can do that. They need to have those three things: audience, capital, and distribution. Mm-hmm.
Very cool, man. That's neat. It's going to be fun watching where Terraform goes and the books you guys bring in and you create. And, speaking of books, in your book, you currently have, Hybrids, the Son of God's Trash Day graphic novel currently out right now on INDIEGOGO. You have 7 days left. You are looking for a goal of 5,000. This is your... How often have you been doing INDIEGOGO? This is your fourth campaign, it says here.
Yeah, I've done small cleanups on INDIEGOGO for 3 other campaigns. And so they've all been successful, but I've never asked for this much. This is it's a bigger, now people ask, well, why do you need so much? All the work is done. For the most part, all the work is done with this book. We've got everything is drawn, colored, lettered, ready to go to printer. And so obviously, the other 5 issues that for the Trash Day arc that came out in floppies are in this, but we've got some new exclusive content that's in there. And we've got some some insider stuff, some commentary from the creator, me, in there about some of the process of making the book, the research for the story and how, actual historical evidence ties into the science fiction world that we've created. And when I say we, that's a loose term. That's me and my personalities that we have created. So someone asked, well, who's we? Who else are you working with? I'm like, just me and me.
And the 15 other personalities in your head.
Exactly.
Now, what really caught my eye, shut up, you. What really caught my eye on this was, in this, you don't see this too often, and I don't want to, I don't know, maybe many people do know about this. A lot of people I know don't, but you mentioned the Book of Enoch, and
yes.
If you're into aliens, if you're into early civilization and the theories of what's going on there, I mean, the Book of Enoch is a pretty big deal, and I have to ask, is this something that you've always been into? That, because I have to imagine, maybe I'm wrong, but is it the Book of Enoch, the ancient alien, those theories that people have of the human hybrid, kind of being guided, and humans may have been developed more as labor, and then the whole kind of mixed interbreeding stuff. I mean, is that something you're into before you started this series?
That was the reason why I started doing this book. So I had an old pastor friend and we would sit and talk about these weird things, and we would always find some weird topic in the Bible.
Yeah.
It just didn't quite make sense. It didn't really have all the answers, but it was one of those things. It was fun things to talk about. And we always came back to Genesis chapter 6, where it talked about the sons of God seeing the daughters of men, liking what they see, and having babies. Well, one of the things that we would often talk about is that it wasn't just that Christian Bible that mentioned that, but a lot of other major religions mention the event almost exactly like it's written in that verse or two in Genesis. And the other thing, as we started talking, it came up that there are different places where you can find, in the Book of Enoch and other places like that, where you can actually find references and stories to these Nephilim. In other places in the Bible, it refers to the king of the Nephilim and all of that kind of stuff. And those stories, some of those stories actually mirror a little bit of the Greek god stories a little bit. And people that are way smarter than me, who've read way more books, they actually believe that the Greek gods are just an exaggeration of real life Nephilim. Because it turns out that the first writings that you get of any of the Greek mythology was about 1,500 years after the writings that you get about the Nephilim, which is kind of a cool idea, So we start thinking about that and start tying all this stuff together. And one of the theories is that, so Nephilim, like angels, had sex with women in order to create the Nephilim. But the other parts about Greek mythology is that angels had sex with a bull to create, these other, or had sex with this or that, to create all these other mythical creatures, which is kind of, it's kind of neat. And so those conversations would just go and go and go for hours. And finally, and he knew that I loved comic books. I wanted to make a comic book. He goes, Luke, you should make a comic book about this. And that started a 10-year journey of writing out, figuring out the world, building the world, finding out how all the strings are going to connect, and then writing a plot that goes around that kind of lives inside of this universe, which then created a first issue in 2016.
Now, how did you discover the Book of Enoch, though? Because that was it's kind of like a book that's really been pushed to the sides. Is that's just mumbo jumbo. If you're actually kind of studying, religious history and things like that. But at one point, that was actually an important book. Because he spent time basically on the spaceship. I mean, describing his descriptions of Earth and the moon and the things for that time are pretty spot on. And it really, if you read the Book of Enoch, it really makes you challenge, I would say science and religion. Where does it fall? Is this true or is that true? So I'm just curious, how did you even, was it going back and forth that made you research more, that made you discover the Book of Enoch?
Well, actually, I knew about the Book of Enoch pretty early on, because Enoch is actually quoted in Scripture. In Jude, I believe it is. The Book of Enoch is quoted there. And so so you guys probably don't know this, but I'm actually a reverend. Okay. I'm a pastor, and I've done the whole seminary thing, I'm kind of a theology nerd. And so I did a lot of research, like trying to figure out, like, learning about how the 66 books that are in the Bible were chosen, how they were actually, before anyone said, hey, this is the canon, like it was the canon before anyone really decided that it was, because that was just what they taught from. But one of the questions is like, well, we quote Enoch, but why don't we include it into the rest of it? Because, the Bible refers to Enoch as that he was, him and God had a great relationship. And he was he was the guy that was like, he was, and then he wasn't. Like the first guy that they would say would be, use this word that is referred to as a rapture or something like that. He was pulled out and taken to heaven without having to die or anything. Just one day he was walking with the Lord, and then he was gone, And so that interested me originally in the book. And so I sought out copies of the book to try to find it so I can research that stuff. And it turns out there's actually 3 versions of Enoch. And they were written not by him, but really kind of by some of his family members. And so they had pinned down. And the reason why there's 3 of them is because, well, it's a collection of stories, and this collection of stories and the collection of stories. There's some contradictions in there because it's, different groups of people writing each one of them. And so they didn't always agree on that kind of stuff. So some of it can come across as kind of the ramblings of an old man, but then other stuff is just absolutely amazing and tremendous in there. This whole idea, like I'm a firm believer that science and faith, like they don't contradict each other. We just don't understand them well enough to know how they actually support one another. And I think that you kind of start seeing that throughout these 3 books when you start reading those things. And so a lot of that, and just other major, other religious text and historical text I went to and tried to find that. So yeah, finding all of those little pieces, it was all preparation for making a comic book. And I didn't even realize I was going to make a comic book about it.
That's cool, though. That's a cool concept to bring into comics, and let's get into it. Let's talk about hybrids, because this is for your trade paperback graphic novel. Yeah. So this is a culmination of 5 issues, because it's labeled right here in bold. Volume 1 Trash Day is 120. And where does Trash Day come? What is that?
So it's funny. So the first issue, I didn't know anyone was going to like the book. Okay, I didn't know anyone was going to want it. With Tenacious Comics, they said, hey, we need some kind of like superhero kind of book. And it's superhero, but it's not super superhero. It's more like supernatural science fiction, but people have superpowers, so people call it superhero. And so I decided this world is massive, and I didn't want to just tell the story about like how people have powers, but I wanted to like tell like the real stuff that was going on, like this other plot stuff that I had developed, this corporation, the protagonist, and all of those things. And I needed to be able to show it to the reader in a way that wasn't just editorializing and just doing like a dump on people, like, hey, this is how this whole world works, and spending all the time doing that. That's boring. So this guy named Trash Man, his real name's Clarence. He doesn't like to be called Clarence. He got picked on. This is not in the book, by the way. This is just stuff I tell people on streams. He got picked on when he was a tall kid, and he got picked on. They called him 9-foot Clarence. And so he didn't like it. And so he actually is a trash man. That's what he does for a living. And so he just took on the name Trash Man. He would, so that's his nickname. And we actually start the story with him at work on Trash Day. So that's why we got Trash Day.
Awesome. So you got a 128-page graphic novel.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, actually a little bit in the beginning of the show, you got 5 issues together, but now you got some insider stuff. Some, it says you got some end credits things, some things. So you're adding some stuff to this. Yes. So this is pretty cool. And you do everything yourself, right?
Almost everything. I can do everything myself. I tried early on, but I realized in order to do as much as I do, I can't. So I do the art and the writing on this book. And I have a colorist that works for me. And then I did the lettering in the book, but I have another letterer that's going to be taking over for me. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But all this stuff
this is cool stuff, man. This is, I know. All this is ready to go, really. So once you make goal, or are you going to extend the campaign?
Probably, because if we can hit 8,000, we're going to add 12 more pages, make it 140 without increasing the cost of the book. But we have to get to that. we have to get to that financial goal so that we can afford it, so we can afford to add the extra pages and still be able to do what we need to do. So, yeah, I'll probably extend it unless a whole bunch of people come in tonight and just start pledging and I get to that 8K.
There you go.
Yeah, I won't be greedy.
I will say what I do like, because I'm looking at, the pledge levels, and really for about $25, you have the option of getting the graphic novel or the 5 issues.
Yeah.
And it gives you, or if you really want, like the hybrid covers, so you have 3 options that are all the same price.
Yeah.
Which is, not something that you typically see. We look at a lot of, campaigns, and, usually the connected covers is going to be more money, or, there are other variant covers, stuff like that. But, to give everything the same price.
Frank, this is for the fans, and I'm like, we're treating this exactly how I would treat a store, Now there's a greater value to getting the trade paperback than the 5 floppies, because you're also going to get the Serafina story, which is a side story that is some of my best work. And then you're going to get this 4-page end credit scene that no one has seen, that no one's been able to see. It's some of the best work that I've ever done. These 4 pages, I'm really proud of it.
Thanks.
And so we're able to put that in there, plus all these extra pages about, about kind of the process and all that stuff in the research. But then we also got creative teams doing 2-page backup stories so that they can add in to make up that 140 pages when we hit that 8K. I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when we hit that 8K, because we really want to put that in there. And so we want to make that the trade have a lot of value to it. And if people want those other floppies, I understand that some people that are coming here, they've been with me before, and so they are familiar with the story. So they might want the trade, or they might want these other new floppies, connected covers, or the homage covers that we're doing. But then other people, this might be their first go with. They are being introduced to the hybrid universe right now, and so we want to make it accessible for people, and so it's not breaking the bank.
When did the first issue of Hybrids come out?
2016 was when the first one came out, and then it was re-released later that year, maybe 2017, with Starcross Comics, and issue 2 came out then. And then things were kind of like iffy and questionable with some stuff going on at the church that I currently work at. But we had some things that required a lot of hands-on attention. And so I wasn't able to make a comic book for over 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And then I was, things settled down. I was able to do it again. And so then we cranked out 3 more issues. And so we were able to finish this arc. And now I'm already starting art on the next arc as well. So, but the fun thing about this is that when you get it, you're going to be able to see the growth of a writer and artist from issue 1 to issue 5. It's not quite night and day, but it's a pretty drastic growth that you see from issue 1 to issue 5.
Yeah. Now I know, we've had a lot of creators come on the show, especially indie, that do majority of everything because, cost wise, this and that. Sometimes it's just, what you have to do. Is there a goal you want to get to as a creator though? Do you want to just, ultimately do, have, more of a writing partner that writes for you so you can do more art, or would you rather get away from the art more and focus more on the writing? Do you have like an ultimate goal for yourself?
Yeah. And actually it kind of ties into Terraform. So I'm kind of creating IPs and I'm having other people write for me. I want to continue writing this one for a little while because it's going to be really hard to get anyone in to take what's in my head and get it out on paper the way that I can. But I do eventually want to move to where I'm only doing pencils and I have an inker, and things like that. So, because I can pencil a lot faster than I can ink. And I've been told that my inks are abysmal. By someone who was trying to get a job. There's like, well, your inker, he's abysmal. And I'm like, I'm the inker. You're not getting hired. It's like just a piece of advice for anyone. If you're trying to get a job on a book, find out who's actually doing the book first and what they do before you start bashing one of the creative members, because it might be them,
Yeah.
So yeah.
What are you gonna do? But hey, man, like, let's get into this though. I mean, for people out there that have never seen your book before, held your book, read your book, I mean, what do we have? You know, give us the premise of the story and
Right.
about your characters.
All right, so we've kind of talked a little bit about where the powers come from. This whole idea that the Nephilim were real and they continued to have babies on throughout the thing, right? And so the angel DNA actually just kind of watered down, and so it's lying dormant inside of people. And so, like right now, Nile, you and Frank could have this Nephilim DNA inside you, not even know it, and something could wake it up, right? Something happens to wake up the DNA, and then instead of having like a recessive trait gives you red hair or blue eyes, you have a recessive trait that could give you the power to lift buildings, teleport, control things with your mind. The imagination is the limit for me. So anything that I just, that we decide, hey, this is a power now, you could do that because it's all stipulated upon the idea that there's this angelic DNA that causes it. Well, that's what happens in the book. Basically, overnight, people start developing these godlike abilities. And no sooner do these people start getting these powers, but the individuals start to vanish. Someone's coming along and taking them. And it's up to this group of heroes that's trying to find out who's taking them, where are they taking them, and why are they taking them. So they're trying to answer those three questions because it's a real personal thing to them. And so we have some supers and some non-supers all teamed up trying to figure out like what's going on and save the day because somebody they love has been abducted. And so that's what Trash Day is all about. It's a huge rescue story. And so it's fast paced. So like it starts out with a rescue of Trash Man, this big guy down here. And then it moves on to an even bigger scale and the stakes get higher and higher as you go. And so that's where we go with the 5 issues. And then that launches us, this trade with the extra content launches us into the next arc. And it's going to be epic. Like it's going to be epic.
So does this book, I mean, is this like, is it individual stories for characters that are tying into these books, or are they working as a team? I mean, who are our characters in this series?
They work as a team, actually. And so I like to develop the story by unraveling who the characters are a little bit of it at a time, kind of naturally and organically throughout the story. And so we don't do a whole lot of backstory on each one. The backstory comes out in conversation as it's needed. Kind of how our backstory, like if we're talking, you'll get a little bit of my backstory, then you'll get, I'll get a little bit of yours, that kind of stuff. So it happens over the natural course of the relationships, but the circumstances of the world throw them into relationships that cause that kind of that development to happen. So it is very much a team book. Okay. And so the first arc seems a little touchy because it's high stakes and they don't know each other real well yet. And so the next arc kind of, they've had some time to get to know each other. So you see those relationships develop and things like that through there. So we've got a bunch of characters in here. Trash Man, obviously this is the guy that, with the blue stuff. He's got this internal battery. So if like he gets hit or like something that would cause damage, he doesn't get hurt.
So this guy here?
Trash Man. And so he actually stores up this internal battery and this energy he can release any way he wants. And so
now,
it can come
is
out.
This the energy? So you've got these, discs with like lightning and stuff coming out. Can you explain this image?
Yeah, those are light bulbs.
Background?
Yeah, those are light bulbs. So they had this idea in this particular scene that these things are really like they're hard to kill. So let's use Trash Man's power to do this. So one of the other characters, Link, who has the ability to control electronics and anything mechanical, he can just like fabricate things and build things. He has this idea, hey, grab them because these things are attacking him, but Trash Man doesn't, it hurts him, but he doesn't take damage. It just fills up his energy reserve. And so he's like, hey, get under there. And what I'm going to, and we're going to hit you with electricity, which is going to like send your battery to full. And then you can just blast your energy right through the bodies of these creatures for a dead stream for as long as you need, for as long as it takes. And so that's kind of the idea. And that's what's happening in this scene.
That's neat. Can you give us a little bit of maybe a preview of the next story arc that you're going to be working on?
Yes. So we are, I've had some people say, man, I just feel kind of like the bad guy. There's all this like lead up to this bad guy. I feel like he kind of got a little chumped at the end of this first arc. And I go, well, yeah, you're right. He kind of did, but that's set up for the next one. The stakes are way higher, but they find out that it's not, that what they learn in the first arc, the things that is kind of the core of the antagonist, they realize that that's not the only thing that they have to deal with, that there's kind of this whole other aspect that just goes way beyond what they even expected. And there's kind of layer upon layer of bad guy evil stuff. And the next arc will have a lot of loss. It will have a lot of the good guys really struggle with fighting the bad guys on this one. In fact, so I was going to call it this next arc called Love Lost, and I'd promoted it that as for months and months. I just recently changed the name of the arc, and so now all the new printings everything's going to have to come out with the next arc is going to be called The Killing Field. So that gives you an idea what the arc is like, what this and it wasn't going to be 10 issues. It was going to be 5 issues to make it 10. It's going to be 4 longer issues, so they're all going to be 24, 26 pages.
Oh wow!
On this one, yeah, but it's going to be a shorter arc, but with more pages.
Oh, nice. And you've got a couple of videos on your page. So if you don't mind, I'd like to actually play the Hybrids trade promo video.
Sure,
for the viewers out there.
Yeah.
Major religions across the globe recount a similar story about angels or sons of God who take mortal brides. These unholy unions produce a creature known as the NEPHILIM. Stories of the NEPHILIM predate the first known writings of the Greek gods by nearly 1,500 years. Many experts believe that the tales found in Greek mythology are actually just exaggerations of the real-life NEPHILIM. With so much of history pointing to the reality of this event, what if the Nephilim really existed? Our modern knowledge of DNA tells us that it is possible to pass down a fraction of that angelic DNA to their offspring, and that it is possible for people today to be walking around with this hybrid DNA. So, what if something happened to awaken that dormant trait? Unlike other dormant traits that may give you red hair or blue eyes, this trait, if awoken, may give you the power to lift buildings, or teleport, or even control things with your mind. In Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, that is exactly what happens. Seemingly out of nowhere, people begin developing godlike abilities. However, they vanish soon after they develop these powers. It takes a small band of intrepid heroes with a very personal connection to these events to unearth who is taking these people, why they are being taken, and where they are being kept. In Hybrids, the Sons of Gods Volume 1 Trash Day, we discover the answer to these 3 questions. We also have a special look at what happens just beyond the main arc of Trash Day in the expansion story Seraphina No. 0. This added content explores one of the rescued characters from Part 5 of Trash Day and gives us a deeper look into what it is like dealing with trauma from the inside. This volume also includes an exclusive 4-page post-credits scene that gives more depth to some of our characters and begins to establish a new order for our universe in the next arc. We have also included several pages of additional creator notes and art for fans of the Hybrid universe. Jump into the action today to support this special volume of Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, and find out what everyone is talking about.
Hey, thanks for sticking.
Very cool, man.
Wow.
Very, very cool. That was some good imagery and stuff in there. I like that video that you put together. Yeah, so everyone get out there if you can, help spread the word about Hybrids. There is 7 days left. Just about to break 3,000, looking for a goal of 5,000. Terraform Comics, Luke and his partners are trying to break into Indiegogo. Let them know why Indiegogo is the way to go, and really help support this group of great indie creators. Like I said, I know Rob, who's one of your partners, and he does a lot for indie creators with his whole indie network. So definitely head out there, share on Twitter, share on Facebook, share on Instagram. If you can back it, great. If you can't, no worries, but just at least share it and help spread the word and get hybrids out there. And this is cool, man. I love this stuff. I love the Book of Enoch. I love all that, ancient alien stuff. I mean, and are you a believer in aliens? Do you believe in any of that?
I don't know that I believe in aliens from outer space. Through my research for this, I kind of believe that aliens are offspring of the NEPHILIM that actually exist in an underwater city. So that's just... Which I talk about that in the book because it's fun.
There you go. So if you want to learn more, you got to get the book.
Yeah, Atlantis is real. But I will say this. So anybody that is kind of on the fence about whether or not they want to kind of take the plunge, I do have the first issue available for $5 physical, and then with $5 shipping. So it's $10. And I'm sending out the PDF for the issue 1 right away with that book. So that you might be able to decide like, oh, I think I do like it and I want to go ahead and get the whole trade. You can do that. If it doesn't interest you and the subject matter is not there, but you're like, hey, I'd like to help you out a little bit, you can. There is a way you can pledge $5 to buy me a cup of Joe. Just kind of fuel the creativity, so to speak. So that helps out. It not only helps out because of $5 that can go a long way with making a comic book, but it also helps with the backer count because I do have several backer count stretch goals that we add in. So we are so close. We're 18 away from hitting the next one.
Awesome. Well, I know you'll get there and, extend that campaign. Frank's really good. Every morning he sits down and he goes through and he pushes different campaigns every day. And we'll continue to push hybrids for you on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And, hopefully we can help get there. And, for the viewers that are watching live tonight and for the ones that'll watch this recorded, again, please explore this. It's a fun topic. It's cool. And if you know anything about it, unlocking those abilities is going to be neat. It's going to be neat to read, and I think you all will enjoy it. And before we go tonight, I do have a crowdfunding call out. This is for Alchemist. It's an action-packed sci-fi comic series from an incredible creator that goes by the name of TJ Sterling. I'm probably going to see about having TJ on next week just to talk about his comics, what he's doing. His campaign will be over as he only has 9 hours to go. But if you're into the whole Senshai storylines and that style stuff, I mean, this is really great. I'm going to play the video for you guys so you can check this out. And then obviously on your own, I mean, you can go through the campaign, see what his levels are. Art's really cool. The character design, the story is really cool too. So we're going to give TJ a shout out, a good friend of mine. And, he's got 9 hours left on his campaign. So check that out after you check out Hybrid. So I'm going to play the video for you guys.
Hey everyone, this is TJ Sterling, president and lead artist of Ray Comics. I'm here today to talk about my flagship comic book series, Alchemist. My goal is to raise $3,000 to not only finish the 4th issue of Alchemist, but to also raise funds for the subsequent issues, Alchemist issue 5, issue 6, the Ticina miniseries, and Alchemist Dark History. Alchemist is a sci-fi martial art action epic centered around a young man named Cale who, unbeknownst to him, possesses a latent superhuman ability that could potentially save the human race. Cale is being pursued by 4 biomechanical superhuman warriors called the Hunters, who have traveled from a desolate future to acquire this ability for their own dark purposes. I started Ray Comics in 2015 with the sole purpose of publishing unique stories about underrepresented characters, as well as to create narratives that I felt were innovative, cool, completely different. Last year, we published the 3rd book of our flagship comic series, Alchemist, which was met with numerous accolades from fans and supporters across the country and abroad. With issue 4, we get deeper into the story where Cale has evolved into a powerful force and has the antagonist on the run. There's lots of twists and turns with heart-stopping action and suspense. If you love martial arts, time travel, and sci-fi mashups, you're going to love Alchemist. Alchemist issue 4 is done. It's completely drawn and colored, and as you watch this video, it's being lettered and should be done within the month. So we're ready to go. We're ready to go to print. And basically what you are funding is the print and production cost for the 4th issue of Alchemist, a fully colored 32-page comic book. This is a comic that I've personally written and illustrated. It also has amazing color work by Balram Banerjee of the Zong Brothers and powerful lettering by Duran Bennett of World Design. I've been in the comic industry for a while and have had the pleasure of working with some great companies like Marvel Entertainment, Dark Horse, Aspen Comics, and more recently, DC Comics on Batman Giant #5. Once again, you are getting for your money a 32-page comic book plus some really cool extras. And during this Kickstarter campaign, we will have all previous issues of Alchemist available, so it'll be easy to get the whole collection and dive deeper into the series. Plus, don't forget about our stretch goals, some of which include the next 3 comics within the Ray Comics universe, which we're extremely excited about. Something we're also very excited about is charitable giving here at Ray Comics. We have 2 amazing organizations that we'd like to give back to with this campaign, the United Kidney Fund and the Harlem Arts Association. Thanks for considering supporting Alchemist. If you can't back us financially, maybe you can share this on social media with your friends, family, and fellow comic lovers and tell them about this great campaign that we have going on today. Thanks again for taking the time.
All right, there you have it, everyone. That's our crowdfunding call out tonight for Alchemist, an action-packed Sentai sci-fi comic series by TJ Sterling. So after you guys check out Hybrids, make sure to check out Alchemist. And again, Luke, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It's been a privilege talking to you. Love, where your book is going, the topic, how you came up with the idea. It's definitely something I'm into, and I look forward to seeing this thing, man. This is pretty cool.
I'm pretty excited about it, but I'm biased, I guess.
A little biased. There you go.
Yeah.
But all right, everyone, thank you so much. And before we go, Luke, tell the viewers out there how they can stay in touch with what you're doing.
Just go to LukeStoneStudios.com. That's LukeStoneStudios, plural.com. And you can find my social media there. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. All of those links are there. You can join my mailing list, which is a great way to keep updated on stuff that's going on. I don't spam people a bunch. I just, every once in a while I'll send something out. And you can also find the link to the INDIEGOGO up there as well. So
awesome. And once you're on Pop XP, man, you are part of the Pop XP family. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have anything you want to promote. If you want to pop on for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, half hour, if you have something cool going on, you want to share it, please, shoot us an email, a message, however you want to do it, but we'll make sure we get you back on. Or even if we have a guest, you're like, oh my God, I would love to meet so-and-so, and you want to pop on and say hi, shoot a message. We're glad to have it. We always love having guest hosts.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, hey, everyone, have a great rest of the week. Have a safe, happy weekend. We will see you all next week. Frank Amazing. Always getting this great talent on. This is all Frank Amazing, everyone.
My job.
Searching out those hot indie books. It's fire. It's fire, Luke. It's fire.
It's fire.
It's fire. All right, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Bye. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
Luke. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on Pop XP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the Pop XP and over on Instagram at the Pop XP. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you soon.